Natasha, and if you're watching this video, welcome to my Chiron series. So I will be doing the intro of what is Chiron, and then for each individual sign for each video, as well as how it might be playing out within each of the 12 houses for that actual zodiac sign. So stay tuned, please subscribe and like this video or share it with someone that you may find that it may help them. So we all have Chiron in our chart. So what is Chiron? So Chiron is basically the wounded healer. In a nutshell, it is the area where we just feel inadequate in, we just suck at, we don't know why, and it is something that it will just keep coming up throughout our lifetime in some way, shape, or form. Usually it's stronger kind of earlier in life, and hopefully if you work on it and heal it over time, it will be a little bit lighter and not as impactful or awkward for you. And when you heal it, it is actually your superpower, and it is something that you are really good at in its own way, and it is something that you can help other people who struggle with in this area as well, if that made any sense. I am a Chiron in Gemini in the 9th house, so if you want to look at that video or in my past videos, I have a video on that and how that kind of plays out. So you'll often see me stumbling with words, because Gemini is learning, speaking, reading, writing, and learning, and so that seems to be a thing for me. So I'm sorry about that. It keeps coming up. But when I was really young, I was practically a mute and I did not speak at all. So you can see over the years that is, not the case, and I may be able to communicate things to you in a way that maybe other people may not be able to communicate with, or more patient when it comes to learning disabilities, speaking impediments, things like that. So hopefully you find this video informative in the way that I express it, if other videos are not necessarily hitting it for you. So Chiron is just basically that zodiac sign and where it is placing in whatever house it is for you, how it's acting out, or what area in life that Chiron placement is wounding you, or where you have been wounded early on in life and it's kind of affected you in whatever decisions you made, or fear-based mentalities, whatever, things that kind of led from one thing to another over time, if you've kept ignoring it and not addressing it, because it is scary and it's uncomfortable, it doesn't feel good. Sometimes you don't even know how to resolve it because like you're awkward at it. And so, knowing where your Chiron placement is and what sign it is can help you feel like, there's nothing wrong with you. This is just something that you were born with, that you came here to learn as a human being here on Earth School, and for your soul to kind of overcome and resolve in your own way. So this way you can help other people, because when we interact with other human beings on this planet, where we all go through human struggles, no matter what it looks like on the outside, you can bring this superpower, this quality that is very unique and personal to you, to help someone else and empathize with someone else, who's going through the same thing, or a friend whose child is going through something like that and they don't know what to do. You bring this special quality if you're able to heal it, and work on it. So that is basically what Chiron is. It was like a healing centaur, like a good centaur in Greek mythology, and this was a wound that this centaur was not able to heal, even though he was a healer and a teacher, you know, and sometimes, you know, you look at a teacher or a guru or someone who you see as above you, and if they can't figure it out, you know, or heal something or problem solve something, it's kind of like, oh, you know, even my teacher, you know, is flawed, you know, because, you know, regardless of if someone has like a title leadership role, who looks like they have it all, they are a human being and they have problems too. They are not perfect. They do not always have the answers. So, you know, be a little bit compassionate about other people because they have a Chiron placement just like you. And if we all kind of become more aware of our Chiron placement, because it is like a big factor in my what, you know, here we go, in my perspective, yeah. In my perspective, Chiron is a big one to try and focus on and heal. The next one is Saturn, and another one is your North Node, South Node. So please subscribe and check out those videos if I haven't posted them quite yet. You know, you have your big three, Sun, Moon, and Rising in astrology if you're new to astrology. And if you're digging deeper into it, you know, Chiron, Saturn, North Node, South Node. Those are three big ones that I would also dive into, as those three, the Chiron, Saturn, and North Node, South Node thing, are going to be big factors as to how you kind of grow and evolve as a soul, what you came here to do in this lifetime, what is very unique and authentic for you as a human being, you know, regardless of how society is structured or how whatever culture or place in the world you live in, how that is structured. This is more personalized to you. And if you've kind of helped figure that out, you'll kind of have more guidance, you know, as to where you're supposed to kind of go in life, you know. And it can kind of also make you feel heard, make you feel like there's nothing wrong with you. This is just something that you have to work on. You may reflect on childhood as to like connecting the dots of how these kind of struggles may have initiated. You know, like for me, I have Chiron and Gemini, and when I was growing up, the environment was pretty quiet, you know, and I'm a Libra rising, you know, and so I tended to, what I naturally went towards is kind of sensing, you know, I'm very intuitive. I kind of sense, engage the environment, the room. I read body language, facial expressions. When I hear someone say something, you know, I'm not just listening, I'm trying to hear them. And I also notice when I'm not heard because I say something, and based on the response someone gives me, I'm like, yeah, they didn't get what I was trying to say. And then I determine, you know, is it important enough or not to intervene, or it's like, yeah, it's like whatever, it's not important, so I'll just let it go. This is something that you can kind of work on and be just more compassionate and empathetic about other people in your scenario. And the more and more people who come to this realization, awareness, level of consciousness, as you know, there's more and more and more levels of consciousness and awareness, then, you know, you can help prevent hurting other people unintentionally. You know, yeah, because usually it's not intentional, hopefully, you know, but when you're more aware of yourself, number one, you can catch yourself when it's actually happening, or you're like, oh crap, you know, like I did it again, you know, and then you can try and work on it over time, you know, or recognize different things, you know, because if you're not aware of it, you're not going to fix it. You're just going to overlook it. You may realize that, you're just living on survival mode. You're just trying to feel loved and seen and appreciated so much to where you're kind of blinded by what you're actually doing, you know. So I think that's it for my little intro spiel, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, so I will start with the series after this, and it'll be time stamped down below if you want to kind of skip things. So yeah, okay, see you in a bit. Hi, so for this part we're going to do Libra, or Chiron in Libra. So if you have Chiron in Libra, you basically have like a really, really deep fear or wound in relationships, because Libra represents relationships as well as contracts. You may feel wounded when it comes to balance and fairness, as if maybe you feel like you have to self-sacrifice in order to create harmony, but it's actually not harmonious at all. Or there's always some kind of wounding when, you know, trying to work with someone else and create harmony, and somehow there's always disharmony, and you just feel wounded kind of over and over again over time. You may feel like you're not worthy of love, or not worthy of your relationship partner, or not good enough for them, or if like you always mess up all the time, and so you don't feel good enough for your partner. So it's an insecurity wound. Or it could be flipped. Your spouse or partner may feel like, or they might not feel, they might kind of hurt you in some way over and over again. Maybe they point out things about you that is wrong with you, or that irritates them, frustrates them, and so they're kind of reflecting or mirroring or kind of criticizing things that maybe you're just not naturally very good at, and so your literal partner somehow kind of hurts or wounds you over time, if that is the case. It doesn't have to be. But these are just different scenarios of how it can kind of play out, especially if you have Chiron in the 7th house. Also, it can be especially related to your significant other. But just being in the sign of Libra, you just feel wounded in feeling balanced. Maybe you're it's very hard to be organized, or there's always something kind of coming at you, or life that is unexpected, and it's really hard to find this kind of balance that makes you feel at peace, and is just kind of nice and pleasant and, you know, beautiful, because Libra is a Venus ruled sign. So you have to think almost the opposite of Libra characteristics to feel like you have this kind of wound that just keeps coming up until you kind of work on it, and it becomes actually your like greatest strength and your superpower. Or there's something about relationship dynamics that you really know or comprehend in a different viewpoint, but at the same time you're always somehow wounded in relationships. You might feel a little bit kind of fearful of rejection or disharmony, so you might overcompensate in order to appease a relationship partner of some sort. It can be like a business contract partner. It's just anyone that you kind of work somewhat close with one-on-one. Traditionally, it's more of your actual spouse or partner, whoever you identify that to be, but it could be someone you work close with, like a mother, a child, a grandparent, uncle, sibling. Also, it can kind of play out in those arenas as well. So you might overcompensate, or you may self-sacrifice, because that is a very Libra characteristic is to kind of put themselves last, because they're always thinking about the other person first, or they're afraid of what the other person may think or judge. So they'll just kind of stand back and observe or hear, and then they will respond based on what is around them. So you may feel wounded in judging those things. So you may misjudge other people's kind of interpretations, or whatever they're trying to interact with you. And so if you kind of misjudge this kind of sensing or reading other people, you might say or do something which kind of creates disharmony in the other person. That's not what you wanted or what you intended, or maybe it just came out in the wrong way, like a miscommunication thing. And now, instead of creating harmony, you created conflict. And any kind of Libra placement does not like conflict at all. They try to harmonize, rebalance. You know, if it's escalated, they are really good at de-escalating conflict. So you may have a hard time de-escalating any sort of conflict, or resolving conflict, or asserting yourself, or asserting other people, or advocating for yourself or other people. It's just very challenging for you until you kind of work on those things over time. It's kind of like a working on self-confidence and not being afraid of what other people may think about you, or your opinions, or your perspective. Always try and like say things in a way where other people can understand, but I know not everyone is that great at that, and so, you know, there can be a miss in communication a lot of times. So it is anything to do with those type of areas, is kind of feeling wounded with relationships in general, or maybe emotional intelligence, finding, you know, a good balance with what one person is able to do, and what are you, or whatever they're able to contribute to the relationship, and what are you able to contribute to a relationship, and agree upon that, kind of like a business contract, because Libra is the house of contracts, and it's the only inanimate sign in the zodiac, and it's like the judge. So how two individuals kind of be able to communicate. Libra is an air sign, so communication is important for all the air signs. So being able to use your words, know what you want. So maybe you're wounded with knowing what you want, because this is the opposite sign of Aries. Aries knows what they want, and they're really good at deciding. Libra is very not so great at figuring out, like, what do I want? Like, I don't know. And they can come off very wishy-washy, or very slow, or very indecisive. And a lot of people may get frustrated with that, or maybe avoidant, like a avoidant attachment, because they can't decide on, you know, is it safe? Is this good for the long run? Is this gonna work? Because if it's not gonna work in the long run, I don't want to commit to it. So there's this kind of nervous anxiousness to the sign of deciding. So very calculative in trying to make very smart, wise decisions. So you may be wounded in how do you really decipher how to create a harmonious relationship, because, you know, the other person, if you're working with any other person, they are not you. You know, you have to take the two individuals and come together and somehow be able to work together or be able to live with each other. It's not just like a love romance where, you know, it's hot and bothery the first few months or maybe the first 2-3 years in the honeymoon stage, and then it gets kind of dull, boring, or you realize that you actually don't have that much in common and you kind of got together for not the right values or the reasons of what you actually wanted in the long term. You kind of got together for trauma and not seeing each other's wounds, but there's something similar there. That's why you got together, and that is not always the formula of a lasting, harmonious relationship. So healing yourself, becoming more self-aware, figuring out what in the world do you want, short-term and long-term, and having strong boundaries, and not being afraid to speak up, hopefully earlier on in a relationship, to see if you and another person match in all these various values, and not everyone comes up with all of the questions that they should talk about pretty early on in a relationship if they are actually serious of kind of having forever companionship on a harmonious kind of level, not just wooing your self-esteem void of feeling wanted or being afraid of being alone. So those are some things to kind of think about. But if you really heal your Chiron placement, whatever that wounded part of yourself is, you're actually very, very good at relationships. There's going to be something about relationships that you're really good at. Maybe you're really good at negotiating. Maybe you're really good at formulating really fair business contracts. So maybe you are kind of wounded somehow over and over in relationships. Maybe partners take advantage of you. Maybe you are very wealthy and, you know, there's a part of you and this other person that you see that you're on the same level of some sort, but over time they take advantage of you. They're not fair and balanced. They're just trying to, you know, use you in whatever way, and you have a hard time speaking up for yourself or asserting yourself, or you want this person because they're like the ideal visual of what you would want, or maybe they have the paper resume of the education and background that you would like because it looks good. Libra archetype loves things aesthetic and that looks good, but the person that looks good and has this wonderful paper resume is rotten to their core, and so they wound you over and over again, and then you get a divorce or what breakup, whatever that case may be. So that's just like an example. Or it could be you. Maybe you're the person who does that, and that is a reflection of what you need to work on within yourself and why, or what are the like deep-rooted intentions of why do you get in a relationship in the first place, you know. So those are some things to I think contemplate about. And so, but your superpower is basically you're really, really good at creating harmony and fairness. If you use discernment and know how to pick the right partner, that you can create a really good team, and for the most part you're kind of on the same page in the long run, but it might take a while, and you might be really, really good at business, negotiating, and creating hopefully fair contracts, because that's all Libra stuff. So next I'm going to go through each sign or each house of what kind of examples having Chiron in Libra, but in each house, might play out. Of course, I cannot come up with every single example that exists out there, but hopefully it kind of gives you a little bit more ideas if you have a hard time coming up with those ideas in the first place. So if you have Chiron and Libra in the first house, especially if you're a Libra rising, that's basically what that would mean. You would feel wounded. You would feel, because the first house is the Aries house of the self, you would feel unbalanced, possibly, like you have a hard time organizing and getting everything that you want to get done, balanced and organized, so everything works the way that it should. Because if you're a Libra rising, you are balanced. Other people see you as a very balanced and harmonious, peaceful person, but when you have Chiron in here, kind of shakes that up and makes it kind of not as harmonious and balanced and graceful and poised. You may feel kind of wounded with self-worth, self-esteem issues. You may feel physically wounded, like not aesthetically pleasing for whatever the case may be. Maybe you were born with something, or you had an accident early in life, and so that just created some kind of imbalance. It doesn't have to be ridiculous or scary or anything like that, but there's something that you are wounded, because this is the house of self, and you may feel unbalanced or chaotic, kind of disorganized, or you have a hard time kind of asserting yourself or defending yourself with other people, or you always get hurt by other people. They reflect something within you, because being a Libra rising, you tend to mirror and reflect other people in order to feel safe. Check out my rising sign videos for more information about that. And so you can kind of get a better idea of how Chiron in the first house for a Libra rising person may play out with, or maybe you feel wounded in how you aesthetically dress yourself, your style, or your personality may not be very Venusian. You might not have this kind of graceful poise, or, like an elegant, that's more like a feminine type of vocabulary word, but kind of like suave, or just like graceful, balanced, poised. Maybe you feel very clumsy, or you trip all the time, or you have balance issues, or maybe you have ADHD, and so you're not organized and whatever exact, pristine as you would like to be. But most likely you would want to work on it, because usually Chiron is a placement that we really want to work on, and we really want and strive for it. So if you work on it, you're actually very, very good at this. You might look very harmonious and very balanced and poised, because you worked really hard on these traits, and maybe you want to go to finishing school or something, to work on yourself and your physical body. So that's the first house. Libra Chiron in the second house, wounded in finances, or being wounded in relationships relating to finance. So this is kind of that example I explained earlier. You might get into relationships a lot where you get taken advantage of with your finances, or people are always out to kind of get you, and they don't play fair with your finances, whatever you may do. It is unfair, unbalanced, and you keep freaking getting it, and your next door neighbor who does the exact same thing as you never gets criticized or sued or whatever it is. It's for some reason you have the target on your back in unfair play in relationships and relating to your personal finances, because the second house is the Taurus house of personal finances. And oh, I forgot what I was going to say. And self-worth, self-value, the things that you own and have. Maybe there's divorce, or you're in a relationship with a real NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, and they keep going around flipping things on you that are completely pathologically untrue, and they point the finger at you all the time, and they don't want to admit fault or blame because they have such a fragile ego. And so, you know, a lot of people who are stuck in a real narcissistic relationships, they can go bankrupt with a narcissist, especially if the narcissist is like a freaking lawyer and they know all the loopholes and they're very, very good at asserting themselves. So, you know, be careful about that. But if you heal your Chiron, you actually have a very, very good or strong sense of self-value, self-worth, because the second house represents your self-value and self-worth. You are very worthy. You should have a lot of self-esteem. You are actually worth quite a lot, regardless of if you make any money or not. There's something of high value to you, and you're actually someone that is worthy of all of that, whatever. Finances, value, self-esteem, and you're the material things that you own. And you are worthy of someone who is a relationship partner who is also seen as very high status or very valuable to whatever your perspective may look like. You are worthy of someone like that because you are very worthy, you know, as a healed Chiron placement in that house, in the house of finance, stability, all the Taurian stuff. So yeah. Libra, Chiron and Libra in the third house. This is our house of Gemini, learning, communicating, our small community, and short distance travel. So finding a good balance when it comes to learning in school, or, you know, because Libra is more of a you relate to other people sign. So it's just like finding harmony and balance within your community. Maybe you're surrounded by a lot of people who it always has to be their way, or they're always fighting and conflict, and you just have to suck it up and just let them do whatever they want because you're never heard. Being in the Gemini house, Gemini is like, if people with Chiron and Gemini, they don't feel heard. You know, there's always someone talking over them, or if they are listening to the Chiron and Gemini person, they don't actually get it. They're not really listening. They're not hearing the person. So, you know, you might have this combo of relationships, being in relationships who don't hear you, or you don't learn in relationships. You have a hard time learning how to develop healthy relationships. You can just feel wounded within your small community over and over again, maybe get made fun of. If it's like at school, third house is a Gemini house. It's like your siblings. Maybe you're wounded by your siblings or wounded by the peers that you grew up with. Maybe you were bullied. a lot and they made fun of you, or you know, growing up in school, no one wanted to date you. You know, you're not the person that people would flock to or give the googly eyes to. It's like the peers that you grew up, as well as how did you learn. Maybe learning was just not harmonious or pleasant for you, and it was very hard, because it's just like the house of learning, and reading, writing, speaking, communicating, all of the school stuff. It's just very challenging for you. So check out the Chiron in Gemini video if you have Chiron in the 3rd house. So you're going to get a little bit of mix of both. But having struggles with relationships in your small community, it's going to be like the nutshell thing. Being fair, finding fair and balance with people in your small community. It can be like your gym, your library, your small workplace that you work at, your family, the cousins, and whatever group of family that might be nearby you. Maybe they live far, far away, so it might not be as much about that. But if they live kind of within your town, there's all kinds of drama and conflict going on with them possibly. So it can be a mixture of both the school part or the small community or small family part of that. So you just kind of take it based on what is actually going on with you and your situation. And then Libra, Chiron and Libra in the 4th house. So the 4th house is home, family, and childhood upbringing. It's the Cancer house. You may feel wounded with being nurtured. You may have grown up seeing disharmony in your family or your parents. There was always fighting, or you know, it was hard for you to be seen and noticed, and you were just kind of there, and you know, you were somehow wounded in your childhood, and kind of learning what a healthy relationship should look like, because it might have not been role modeled for you. So that may play out to how you may act in relationships, or how you see family, or you can kind of, so you might be very repelled by creating your own family and fear that it might happen again, and you're like, absolutely not, I do not want to be in a relationship or have my own family because of what you went through. But you're actually really good at relationships and balance and companionship, compromise. So you have to take whatever flip for you. Chiron in Libra in the 4th house. The best example is like you might have not seen the best role model play out in relationships, and so that always takes a long-term effect of like, are you aware of yourself enough to notice certain things that you do in a relationship which causes the conflict or the imbalance and disharmony, because you picked it up from a parent, and that is now what you think is normal or creates harmony, but based on your programming, you are used to creating disharmonious relationships. So look at Chiron in Cancer for more information on that, or learning to nurture and kind of build up a relationship, depending on how you do that, because Cancer is very nurturing. It's like like pretending you're a parent, and you are trying to teach like a 5-year-old something. You can't teach them quantum physics. That's just it's unrealistic. You have to teach them small little realistic things that is realistic for them, and make sure they feel not scared or stupid or dumb or not good enough to where you're kind of like putting them down. You're trying to nurture and pull them up, you know, so they don't feel all this weird feelings inside of that will keep them stuck and stunted. So it can be something like that, learning how to nurture family and nurture and create a harmonious relationship dynamic within the family unit. You might just feel constantly wounded in some way, and you just don't know why, or what you thought you believed was the right way to do something, because that is the way you were taught or how it was done for you, and you turned out fairly decently, and you don't know how else to act during that time period. Oh, that's my printer going off. So you repeat that, and so when the kid grows up, you see now the long-term consequences of how you did something over and over again, and you created something that you didn't intend to. I think this is very common for a lot of parents. And so when the kid is now in their 20s, 30s, 40s, when they're an adult, you may see things in a different way. But hopefully you learn from childhood what not to do, and you're actually really good at it, or you're really good at mending a broken family. So maybe you came from a broken family, but you married into a divorced family or a blended family with other kids, and somehow you know how to make it work where someone else would not be able to make that relationship and kind of a wounded family kind of nurture and thrive. Yeah, like if you were the new stepmom or stepdad to 3-4 kids who their other parent who just passed away from whatever reason suddenly, or divorced. And so, you know, at the end of the day, you are not their biological parent, and they might rebel against you. They don't respect you. They don't want to listen to you. But in some way, you're actually really, really good at nurturing, healing, and creating harmony with the very stressful, anxious, depressed, whatever family that you kind of took on. So that can be an example for you, and anyone with Chiron in the 4th house. That can kind of play out. Chiron and Libra in the 5th house. So the 5th house is the Leo house of fun, play, casual dating, relationships. So you may feel constantly wounded when you go on dates, or it's just not fair or one-sided, or, you know, like you get taken advantage of. You have to kind of be careful here. This is almost like this house. If you have like Neptune in here, you need to really learn to see the red flags and really make a decision, not just keep going along with it with rose-colored glasses. There's like similarities. Chiron and Libra in the 5th house. Just be more mindful when you go out on dates, or when you go out having fun, playing, drinking, driving, doing drugs, or whatever experimental things that you associate fun with, and working or dealing with other people, because you can get somehow wounded here in this play house. when playing with other people, like your either romantic relationships, which is more Libra, or it can be just any one-on-one. It can be your best friend. You know, you may feel wounded when you play games. Maybe they play kind of immature tricks and games with you, and to them it's fun and funny, but it's actually not fun or funny to you at all. It's very hateful and disrespectful, and maybe you have a hard time standing up to your best friend or romantic partner or whatever, speaking up, having a voice, and you know, and you end up getting hurt kind of over and over again. Or maybe you want to feel included in a group, no matter what the group is. You just want to feel involved and accepted in a group. So you may get stuck with a group of friends that you just want to have fun with and connect with, but they're actually not the best group to hang out with. For example, you know, like in school, grade school or whatever, maybe, you know, you want to fit in with the cool kids and you want them to like you. So they tell you to do something because they want to see, are you going to be part of our group? Are you loyal to us? You know, are you whatever? They're basically bullies, and they're trying to collect vulnerable individuals who will just do whatever they say because that makes them feel more powerful, because they're actually very wounded themselves. And so they select and target certain people or certain kids, teens, whomever, to see if, are you worthy of our group, because we are cool, we look cool, we do rebellious things, whatever, and you choose based on wanting to be accepted. Libra does not like being alone. They might self-sacrifice in order to fit in or be in a relationship that is not good for them. So you may feel constantly wounded, and they kind of take you down a deep, dark path of, you used to make all A's and B's, and now you're skipping class, hiding in the bathroom, smoking or doing something, skipping school, goofing off, playing off, and now you're failing and you're about to get kicked out. Maybe you're going to go to jail, be on probation, have a record because you just went along and did fun things that are actually, they're not fun, fun things. So be careful of that. That is just an example. It doesn't have to be that way. But it's just giving you an idea. Whatever you personally define as fun and play, things that are superficial, casual, surface level, and any kind of relationship, you may be wounded by them, or you chose to self-sacrifice yourself or overdo something that you normally would never do. It's not in your character, but you did it because you wanted to fit into a group, and now you got wounded, and now you have a new problem. And so there we go. Hopefully not. Chiron in Libra in the 6th house. So that is the Virgo house of daily routine, health, and pets. Our just habits, our lifestyle habits. Just so it's basically maybe feeling wounded on a day-to-day basis with the people that you interact with, or the relationships that you happen to have. So this can be romantic relationships usually. So maybe you chose not so wisely and you got stuck, and you have you're a very loyal, giving person, and so you just choose to stick it out. But your partner in some way, in a day-to-day thing, wounds you in some way. Maybe they don't work with you, they kind of work against you. This can go from, what if you're trying to be healthy, because Virgo is the house of health, and you're overweight and you have a hard time controlling your cravings if bad snacks are in the house. So you tell your partner, like, I'm really trying to work on my diet. I have high cholesterol, or I'm overweight. I need to lose weight. And they're kind of on the same boat with you, but they're not ready, or they don't really want to do the things that you're ready and willing to do now. So you want to clean out the refrigerator or not buy snacks or whatever bad stuff that's going to make you crave things. So they keep buying it because they want it, and they don't really care if you need to lose weight or whatever. So there's a disharmony there. This is just like a little example of a relationship, partnership, something on the daily basis, and the Virgo house of health, daily routine, pets. So you're feeling wounded by your partner, and they're kind of somehow, maybe not directly intentionally, but it's because they just want their way. And now that is kind of affecting you, hurting you, feeling like you're not on my team, we're not working together as a partnership and working harmoniously. You are trying to bring me down because you're not ready, you don't want to work on it or your health, and you want someone to suffer with you or be overweight with them or whatever, because they don't want you to get in shape, because they don't want to do the work to get in shape, and they don't want you to look better than them, you know, and possibly leave them because you become hot and you have six-pack abs and they're still 500 pounds, you know. And so they're afraid of rejection, this Libra rune, that, oh my God, if you get fit and you're so healthy, whatever, you're gonna leave me. So I don't want that to happen, and so I'm gonna keep all the junk food in the house, you know. So that is just kind of like an idea, or a little light example of just like the idea of Chiron and Libra being put in the house of daily routine, where just occasionally get wounded on a daily. You have clients that you work one-on-one with, and maybe you're a lawyer and they always do stupid stuff, and you're like, oh my God, this did not need to happen at all. It's a waste of time, or you're lying. You gave me false evidence or something. I don't know what, and that kind of wounds you. You're like, you got to be freaking kidding me, you know. And so, and it's just part of your job. It's one of the houses of kind of work, your daily work routine. So it can be something like that as well. Chiron in Libra in the 7th house, so double whammy here. Wounded in relationship, Libra in this house of relationship. So just think it's all of this harmony, balance, trying to be fair, asserting yourself, or maybe self-sacrificing yourself in whatever relationship you have, tends to kind of come up over time, probably growing up, but hopefully you try and work at it, try to learn from it, learn about yourself, go to different kinds of counseling, read self-improvement books, anything to where you're actually very, very good at relationships and you have high value, and maybe you will select a better partner, because you don't have to get stuck with the first choice, because Libra can be codependent. And so learn to interview all the people that you're somewhat attracted to enough, and you share the same values. Learn how to communicate and be like, well, sure, you might like that, but I don't like that. Can we work together and come to some kind of agreement with this important thing? Like, if we had children, are they going to go to public school, private school, Are we going to go to this church or whatever if you're different? Are you able to resolve conflict? Are you able to work together and create a harmonious relationship? Not just like, well, I like you and you like me. And even though we have completely different viewpoints, values, and life directions, we're going to somehow make it work. And it's just not going to work, because you're two separate people. If you're so different, if your lifestyle, your belief systems, what your long-term values are, how you like to spend your money, do you like to spend it on, what do you value when you spend your money or assets or whatever? Are you on the same page? Because if not, you're setting yourself up for failure in a very disharmonious kind of relationship. So learning to ask questions, learning how to talk, know what you want, and compromise, and select people who are willing to work with you. And if they're not, give them some time, roughly. But if they just will not work with you, you are so off, then you have to learn how to call it quits before you get too deep. So this way you can go interview the next person. So that's kind of, hopefully that helps you. Chiron in Libra in the 8th house. So 8th house is our Scorpio house. So the Scorpio house is like fear of betrayal, fear of trust, having trust issues, fear of like vulnerability, or having whatever you intimately give or talk about, that it'll be like turned against you and used against you in a relationship. So combine those two. Or being fair and balanced with your resources, your joint resources, everything that you come together with within a relationship. You might feel wounded somehow there, like this person said that they have life insurance or something, and they end up that they don't. Or they make a lot of money and they told you, oh, I'll totally give whatever, or I'll do this and that, but within the relationship they don't. Or they say, but my brother or my grandma needed all of this, so I gave it to them, so now you have to cover the mortgage when you work at a $7.99 hourly wage job. And it's like, what? So there's kind of disharmony, no fairness, hard to find balance within the relationship, financial aspect, or it could be the in-laws, because the 8th house is also representing whoever you're partnered with, and you go hang out at holiday parties with on holidays. You might feel wounded in some way by them. Maybe they criticize you or tell your partner that you could do better than that person. Why did you choose him or her? Like, we don't like her or him, or whatever combo you are. So wounded in all of anything that's joint resources related to your relationships, and creating harmony there in that arena. It's also sex. So maybe like maybe you self-sacrifice doing something to your body during playtime, and it's actually not harmonious or comfortable for you at all, but you just do it for the sake of the relationship. And maybe you feel like your options are narrow, and you just have to take a loss somewhere, and so you allow something to be done to you, but it's not very pleasant or pleasurable. to one of you, and it's very hard to create some kind of how do you work together to enjoy bedtime pleasures with each other. There's some kind of disharmony there. That can be an example. So remember, none of these are a for sure thing. They're just kind of ideas to kind of get you to understand more about the sign and how it might be playing out in each house. Chiron and Libra in the 9th house. So this is the Sagittarius house, or the house of learning, higher educational learning, your belief systems, your philosophy, your actual religion, and publishing, school, higher education. So you may feel wounded with the higher education system or with professors, or if you're getting a PhD and you have to work with one of these people to read your dissertation, you have conflicts with them and they drive you nuts because you worked very hard with them and they don't work well with you. You can have kind of feel wounded by religious people who are in your community, whatever. If you are associated with a specific religion, maybe the relationships that you have within that community, you feel somehow wounded there, or they don't accept you for who you are, or your beliefs maybe don't feel harmonious with whatever that belief system is. Like, it doesn't feel fair and balanced in a way, because Libra is fair and balance, justice, and trying to create harmony. So you may feel like maybe the belief system is not quite right or not quite harmonious to what you may feel it should be. There's not a fair balance. Maybe there's like power control, power and play issues happening, and there's just something kind of imbalanced there. Or you may feel rejected by your religion or your faith or your belief system, or you fear that you might not be good enough, or there's something going on with you deep inside where you don't feel worthy to be allowed in this group, or this group may feel like you don't belong with them and you feel kind of ostracized, or like they might nitpick you or say little things as if like there's something wrong with you and you don't belong in the group. So you might feel wounded with the people associated with that faith, religion, belief system, or teaching of whatever the publishing, because the house of publishing, whatever is taught and published in that book or the textbook or whatever, there's something that you feel like maybe not good enough. You have to self-sacrifice in order to fit into that group, or you have to overdo something in order to feel accepted. So you might do things that you normally don't resonate, or you feel disharmonious. I cannot say that word. You don't feel balanced within yourself in order to fit in. You might self-sacrifice or overdo something there. Or dealing with professors, publishers, book writers. You have relationship struggles in that department. Chiron and Libra in the 10th house. So 10th house is the Capricorn career and public image house. So you may feel wounded often in your career and the people that you have to negotiate with and come to any kind of agreements with. Maybe you feel like you get kind of the short end of the stick often, or whatever deal that is done with maybe either yourself or your company, or if you're a manager, you know, it is actually not a fair negotiation and contract, and you feel wounded with like they can out negotiate you over time, and you had to, hopefully you learn, and you had to learn better negotiation skills, or learning how to kind of weed out, discern people. Are they bluffing? Are they trying to, you know, aim super high in order to negotiate lower? You know, like trying to figure out, are they trying to charge 10,000% more than whatever their product is worth, and you don't know that, and seeing if it's actually a fair and balanced agreement. You might feel wounded over and over and over again in this career sector, or with people, just people who, because public view of you as like a Libra placement, if you have Libra in the 10th house and you have Chiron in Libra here, usually people see you as a very fair and balanced person. The world does, because your home and family life, the opposite should be Aries, if it is in order, or most likely is in Aries. So you came from a lot of conflict, and you might have just kind of sucked it up and took the role of suppressing whatever you wanted in order to please your family. And so it somehow is playing out in your career house, where you're actually a very fair, pleasant, and balanced person, but people can tell that you are somehow wounded here, or you haven't learned to assert yourself, or know what you want, or you're the nice person. You're like too nice, and so people take advantage of your niceness. And so if you heal this, learn this, use discernment, and kind of know how to read people, you can learn. You're really good at negotiating, or kind of following through, writing like a really well documented email. It's, you know, CCing a variety of people who are important related to whatever you're doing. And it's a lot harder for people to kind of get one over on you, because you are really good at following through with all these little tedious things in order to make sure that it is fair and balanced, because you know that people take advantage of others a lot. And when it comes to money, or trying to go up in hierarchy in a corporation, so you might feel wounded, like you're actually more worthy of the promotion than the other person that they picked, and you would have been the better choice. So you are the better choice, possibly, if you worked on these things, but things like that may happen more often to you. Or, you know, like someone else got picked, but everyone who knows you are like, you should have totally gotten that position. You're actually way better than Billy Joe Bob, you know. So maybe that resonates for you. Chiron and Libra in the 11th house. So this is our Aquarius house of friendship, networking, and technology. So you may feel wounded with the relationships of your friends. Maybe they're not the best type of friends that you've kind of chosen to just stick around with. Maybe you're just so used to this group of people because they just let you hang out with them often at one point, but they kind of pushed you to the side, or stopped inviting you, or lied to you that they're going somewhere, and this group of people did go somewhere, but they intentionally didn't want you to come. So you feel wounded with relationships and friendship networking, or maybe you know. There's something that you may be doing or not doing that causes them to kind of nicely push you away, because Libra is very passive. So they're not going to actually tell you what's going on or whatever. They're just kind of leave you up in the air. Like, oh, I don't know. Like, no, we didn't go to the spa on this day, you know, like a group funsy thing. And they actually did, and you found out through some app like Snapchat or whatever with the location thing. Like, all your friends were at the spa together and they lied to you because they didn't want you to come. So that's just an example of how it can play out. You could be wounded in technology, maybe like social bullying, social media bullying in relationships, because it's the house of technology. So just be mindful of that. And if they're really bad, or, you know, if they treat you like that, especially any more than 2 times, especially with the BS excuse, they're probably not the best group of friends to be with. It's better to get out early than get stuck with them and be miserable within the group, you know, because Libra can be codependent at times. So you might choose to be in friendship circles that you actually don't associate at all, but there's some kind of insecurity going on about not wanting to be alone, or you want to be accepted to some kind of group, or you see them as the cool group or the smart group or whatever group, and you just want to be invited, or you just want to be a part of something. Like, please want me, please choose me, even if we have nothing in common and we don't have fun together. Y'all are miserable and boring, and you still choose to be with the mean, miserable, boring, act like a fool group that's just gonna make your life worse. So why would you do that, you know? So take that if it applies. Chiron in Libra in the 12th house. So 12th house is the Pisces house, and it's almost like the subconscious mind. You may feel wounded in your mind, like mental health things, or it doesn't have to be severely mental health, but it is kind of in the mind, or when you're isolated and alone, you feel wounded. Maybe you have a really hard time being alone and you just can't, so you'll be with anyone, even if they're not the best for you, because you're wounded in isolation. 12th house can represent places of isolation, so meditation, spirituality, places that are isolated, like hospitals, prisons, asylums, mental hospitals, places far, far away, or just distant travel. It doesn't have to be anything sad or depressing. So wounded in places where you're kind of alone. Maybe you were neglected, or, you know, at a hospital, someone didn't actually take care of you the way that they should have, or in a prison system, you weren't properly taken care of like you should have, because Libra is relationships. You could be wounded in creativity. So if you are, if you're wounded in your mental health or mental spectrum, you may feel like you can't, your mind is not very bendable, flexible, in order to create or think outside of the box, creating different ideas, or problem solving, or learning how to problem solve, resolve, create different kind of curiosity, or type of dreamlike things in relationships, or your dreams of a dream fantasy idealized relationship are always wounded. Like, you might self-sacrifice, not self-sacrifice, like self-defeat or deceive yourself as, you know, you have like a idealized kind of dream, fantasy, or perfect kind of relationship that's in your mind alone. Like that is within your mind all by yourself. You have this kind of idealized wedding, idealized family, whatever, and you are constantly wounded by the relationships that you're just in because they don't match that dream fantasy that you have in your mind, or you wish that you can find a partner who will do these things with you, play costume in the bedroom, like fantasy play, or you wish that your partner, whoever you choose, they'll do something that's like fantasy. They'll go along with your dreams and creative ideas, but then they're like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm gonna go read my book over here. Like that's just too much for them. I'm gonna read my quantum mechanics book over here and do my Excel spreadsheet. Creative stuff is just not for them, and they're like, I'm gonna sit here and try, but it's just not them. And then you feel wounded that they don't even really, they can't get into it or whatever, and this part of your relationship, and this is kind of like, oh, it's not fun. And you wish that you could do that because you would be really good at it, or whatever. You're very creative, or you're really good at creating very unique creative ideas when you're alone all by yourself, when you heal this, you know, so you actually work on it. Or maybe you're a romance novelist, who knows, like you can come up with really creative relationship things within your own mind. So maybe you're really good at fantasizing and creating or writing. It depends on your whole chart and placement, what you choose to do. You can choose to do absolutely nothing, or work on zero skills. That's completely up to you. But, you know, maybe this is a very creative, powerful trait that you might have. So maybe that applies to you, maybe not. So that concludes my Chiron in Libra video. Check out my playlist down below for your rising signs, your just the general sign stuff, and future videos that I post. So make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video or it helped at all. Share with your friends and family. You can get a birth chart reading from me, and it's posted in the link in the description box below, www.natashascreativewellness.com. It's a pre-recorded reading, so just follow the instructions. Check out my website, any products and stuff if you're into that, and I'll see you hopefully next time. So high, so high.